Boom! Hey guys, it's Tommy Baker here, and I'm so excited to do another one of these webinars. So I call these kind of mini webinars. My goal again is to keep this under 15 minutes. This one might be a little bit longer than the last one, and just help you out. So today's I'm super excited because it's 10 things that your trainer must know to give you maximum results. I left that last part out there just because it couldn't fit in the slide, but these I consider just basic principles that, if you're hiring a trainer or you're working with someone, just really make sure that they're on top of this stuff because, and I'll talk about it in 2 seconds is, why did I make this webinar? I'm not just doing this stuff to, push random content out. This is directly tied to my personal mission. And one of the aspects of my personal mission is really to fix the status quo of the fitness industry, an industry that is so, that relies so heavily on false advertising and marketing, lack of education. And, there's a reason why everybody used to be a personal trainer. And now they're realtors or financial advisors or work at banks or whatever they might do. It's such a transient profession because, people are really lacking the education and the implementation and the professionalism. I think that's really missing from the industry. So while having fun, you can still have a ton of fun and be your own person, but also if you're the impact that we can have as coaches and trainers, to me, it just gets me riled up, and that's why I made this webinar. So one of the key concepts that has come around in the last probably 5 years with the really just explosion of functional fitness, CrossFit, and what I call performance training, and we'll touch on this later, is to train hard, that you must suffer all the time to see fitness results. And I'm here to tell you it's not true. Now, that's the way I like to train, like, doing high intensity workouts where your life is basically on the line. To me, that's like awesome because I'm all about building mental toughness, but it doesn't always translate to the results that people are looking for. So just make sure that, with your training or your trainer or whatever you're doing, the gym that you're going to, that there's some sort of plan, that there's some sort of actionable plan that they're making happen, because what I see a lot is randomness. And it's marketed as randomness because life is random, and that's why we train randomly. But at the end of the day, results don't come from randomness. So really work on training. When it's time to train hard, you train hard. But there's also times to train less hard and to train smarter. Number 2, big one here is no carb is not the only way to go. Again, this one's an education piece. Paleo has exploded onto the scene the last 5 years, and now it's pretty mainstream. And listen, I think paleo is really damn good for a lot of people. But if you look at all the diets that work, quote unquote diets, at the end of the day, it's all the same stuff, right? Cut out processed foods, more vegetables, and then there's some, there's a little, less sugar, and then there's, arguments about what's better or what's a superfood or not. But what I see a lot is people really cutting out carbs as a fat loss and body composition protocol. Obviously, this has been a huge thing with Atkins and CrossFit and all that. But for me, it's what's the highest amount of carbohydrate I can give my clients while still losing body fat. I hope that makes sense, right? So what's the most amount of carbohydrates that I can fuel and give to them in a form of, brown rice, and it could be potatoes, it could be, anything that's dense, steel cut oatmeal, stuff like that. What's the most amount that I can give them while still losing fat? See, what happens, people go all in on this no carb or super, super, super low carb protocol, and they're training super hard. So you go back to the first one, they're training like an athlete, and then what happens? Aesthetically, they absolutely plateau because their body has no idea what to do with itself. It's in starvation mode. It's getting pounded with all these circuits. So don't just go no carb. Like, have some sense into the plan. And it's very person specific as well. Third, define fitness. Like for you, like, so I used to own a gym here in Connecticut called Aspire Fitness. It was more of a kind of boutique personal training. We did some small group, but very kind of small, high-end place. And really the first question on the whiteboard was, what does fitness mean to you? And, people would open up and, like you'd get people saying all sorts of stuff. And then I'd ask questions to kind of dig down into exactly what it looked like and what it feel like, what it like take me to what being fit looks like in your life. The reason I did this was because I found out, or I just saw, that most gyms define fitness for their clients. Most trainers define fitness for their trainees. And I thought that was a backward approach to the whole thing, because if you're coming to me to look and feel good and you want to lose 20 pounds and 5% body fat and have more energy, well, that's totally different than, hey, I want to do this. I want to do Spartan races and I want to get good at CrossFit. Like, those are two different programs. Or another one would be, hey, I want to be a bodybuilder. That's a whole different program in itself. So defining fitness and making sure that your trainer, your coach, the gym that you're working with, whoever you work with, guides you through that process, super important. 4, and I'll touch on this a little bit, is aesthetics versus performance. Like, just knowing what the differences are. And these are two different worlds of fitness. If you're training for aesthetics, it's one world, and if you're training for performance, it's another world. Now, the training can look very similar in the structure and even the movements in some cases, but really what you have to ask yourself is, which one are you going after? And most people are going to go after aesthetics. Now, it's not one or the other 100%. Obviously, if you perform well and you're an athlete, you're going to look the part most of the time. Now, and then the other way around, right? If you're training for aesthetics, a lot of the time you're also going to be somewhat fit, able to perform or some type of physical movement. And then there's a gray area in between where you can kind of do both at the same time. But knowing kind of where you stand on that and what's important to you and which one is priority, right? Since all of them are going to be actually involved, or both of them are going to be involved in any program, I think it's important for you to, really communicate with whoever you're working with, or find a place that really knows what the differences are and how they're implemented, and really at the end of the day, what you want, not necessarily what they want. 5, setting outcomes effectively. Now, this one's a big one, and this is a big one that we do in my Catalyst 90-day challenge program on setting effective outcomes. And I just see this too often in fitness, with remote training, in-person training, the whole thing. It's like, sure, there's an initial meeting, and sometimes there isn't, which I find ridiculous. But after that, you kind of forget about the goals that you talked about. Like, you're kind of working towards them, but you haven't really put anything on paper. So I work with clients, and even people I don't work with, I recommend to split their year up into 4 90-day cycles. Why? Well, I find 90 days is long enough to see a certain type of result, something that's like actually feasible, slightly outside the comfort zone, but not impossible. But it's also not that far away where you can get sidetracked super easily, right? Because it's June 2015, if I have a new client come in and we say, hey, we're going to plan for June 2016, this is what it's going to look like, it's too far out there where it's not that real. But if you tell me that, if I tell that same person that by by September 1st, 2015, we're going to be here, well, they can almost feel it, right? Because September is technically right around the corner at 90 days. So, and then the next thing I do is really pick specific results, like quote unquote looking fit and feeling good. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me because I can't track it and I don't know where I'm going. And so how do I design a program around that? So instead of looking fit and feeling good, it's like, okay, so looking fit. So what is that? So that's lose exactly 20 pounds, lose 7% body fat, get off my caffeine dependence to only once a day. Like, that's how I would quantify, for an example, for looking fit and having more energy. Super crucial. On that same token, tracking in progress. always super crucial to me in my programs. On Mondays or Fridays, depending on the person, we do a check-in. And I used to do this when I was owned a gym here called Sisu. It was a big performance training gym and also personal training gym. And I did it at Aspire Fitness too. So just we would pick a metric. Sometimes it'd be just the scale weight, which I'm not that I don't love, but it's super easy. So it could be the scale weight, it could be body fat testing, it could be caliper testing, it could even be a bod pod. But every week we're going to have some type of test, repeatable test, obviously. We're just going to check in. We're just going to check in and see what that number is at, and hopefully, that's just it gives us a slither into how the program is going, but also motivates people and gives them, if they had a rough week and they didn't see as big as results as they wanted to, they're going to be motivated. If they had a great week and saw massive results, well, they're going to be motivated. If they had a great week and didn't see that many results, well, that's fine too. It's all about non-emotional data and really just seeing where you are, right? It's like a bank account. And I do the same thing with check-ins, with forms and all that, but super important to the 90-day cycles work well because you can reset. So after 90 days, what I have is someone take 1 or 2 weeks off, and then we sit down and then plan again for the next time. So what I see in the fitness industry is, again, people just kind of get lost, especially in these big training gyms now with group classes and all that. Like, yeah, you came in for this, and now we're doing this. It's a lot of gray area, and I don't like it. 7, big concept here. It's sore does not mean results. So we've kind of become, obsessed with being sore. And hey, I'm sore probably 4 days out of the week, and maybe walking funny 2 days out of the week. That's just how I train. But it doesn't always mean that you're getting results. Let me give you an example of that. I can send you right now to go to your local track, local high school, and do a 400 meters of lunges with kettlebells or whatever, or just body weight maybe. You're going to be sore as shit from that. I mean, you're going to be hurting like your ass and legs. And you're going to be on fire for like at least a week. What I'm trying to say is that my question with that prescription would be, did that get you closer to the results that you were looking for? So if your trainer's pounding you every day, if you're always sore, if less is more is what I'm trying to say. All right. So don't just associate soreness with results, because that's not really true. But if your numbers are improving, if your body fat's dropping, if you're feeling better, if you're showing up to the gym, like those are big time, in my opinion, accurate measures of results. 8, fixing under the hood. Something that's very mismanaged and almost forgotten. And really it's because trainers don't have the education. They don't have the education to, really implement this stuff. And if they have the education, a lot of times they can't simplify it for clients, right? No client wants to read a PubMed journal report on why cortisol is, messing up their protein synthesis. And just saying that, you probably just got all confused. But the key with hormone optimization, the reason I call it fixing what's under the hood, is because if you don't fix what's under the hood, then what's outside of the hood is going to perform and feel and look like crap. And what I call under the hood is sleep, stress, nutrition, lifestyle, and stress, meditation, yoga, all that. So that's super crucial. And I think most trainers have really poor ways of implementing this. And really you want to find someone that has proven results in really transforming someone's habits, because at the end of the day, health and fitness results are all about habits, like plain and simple. That's all it is. Number 9, almost there. And I think we're going to make sub 15 minutes, I think. Actually, probably not. All right, so unique snowflakes, or how one size fits all is a lie. So there's one of my favorite movies called Fight Club. I grew up with it. Was my favorite movie growing up. I haven't seen it in a while, but there's a scene in there where it says, "You are not a unique snowflake," and I'll have to argue that in a fitness context that you are. So I know you're going to feel super special because I said that, but again, this goes back to the whole theory of everything I've been talking about is one size does not fit all. See, what happens when you have a group class with a 32-year-old young professional who's engaged to be married and wants to look fit for their wedding versus a 55-year-old who is, hasn't worked out in, 10 years and is a woman. I mean, there's a whole, but you're doing the same program, you're the same nutrition, like all that. Something's wrong with that picture, right? I'm not saying they both can't see results. I'm not saying there's not anomalies where it happens, but there's going to be a point of diminishing returns and a point where there's going to have to be a course correction and a change in program, and that's where the issue lies. I do think everyone's unique in terms of their physiology, their background, their body awareness. I mean, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, and not two of them were the same. And even two male entrepreneurs, same age, same background, same athletic ability, two different programs. So just keep in mind of that. A lot of people can't even design individual programs. And lastly, my favorite, energy, enthusiasm, and accountability. Three massive parts of fitness. And man, I'm so tired of seeing the deadbeat trainer, especially in person. I mean, if you're in person and you're getting paid for your expertise, like be happy and be pumped and be excited to be there. This is something I trained my staff on back in the day. And they never, so here's a quick story on this, and I'm definitely going to go over the 15-minute mark. But so the 6 a.m., I used to teach 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. clients and classes and all that. And naturally, I'm like on fire in the morning. So, but a lot of people obviously come in and they're half exhausted and half asleep. So when I see that, I push my energy on all-time high, right? So it's just my style. I like giving people my all. I mean, when I do a session with someone, I do only remote now, but even just talking to people, I'm usually in super high spirits because I'm doing what I love. But what happened was I had a client who, 6 a.m. and I was pumped and I was all in. I was clapping and going crazy and just, what you want, I think, in a fitness experience. And I was just being myself, right? And she goes up to me and she's like, hey, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, sure thing. And she's like, are you always like that at 6 a.m.? And I'm like, not always, but at least 80% of the way there. And she's like, yeah, I can't work. Is there someone else I can work with? And I didn't take it I thought it was an amazing compliment. She basically said, your energy is so awesome. You're so positive. You're so inspiring that I can't work with you. So funny story on that. It was the only time I got fired for being too enthusiastic as a client. Now she ended up working with someone else, and so technically didn't lose her as a client. But anyways, hopefully whoever you're training with has some thread of that and is happy to be what they're doing, because if they're not, then they should GTFO, and you can figure out what that means. But it goes back to my mission in the industry of being the best possible and really changing kind of the perception of the industry. Lastly, it's accountability. Like, accountability is what fitness is about, right? It's why fitness works. It's why going to the gym works. It's why having a personal trainer and an appointment set up works. It's accountability. It's another face, another person that's going to hold you accountable. This doesn't always have to be a coach or a gym, but that's super important. It could be a friend. It could be someone online. It could be someone you've never met. It could be your social circle, whoever it is, a meetup group. Just make sure you have accountability, because if you're rolling solo, it's not going to work long term unless you're an athlete, or it's just not going to work. So we've reached the end. I hope you got a lot out of that. It was a lot of fun. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, I recently sold a couple of, I sold my fitness business, and then right now I'm working only with people remotely. So if you want to learn more, and if any of this resonated or you have a question, I'm always putting out content and videos to really help people, kind of guide them through the misinformation and find what really works. Because I've literally done it all, and there isn't one method of training that I haven't done or experimented on myself and clients. That's why I feel comfortable really talking about any type of training, and I'm not going to get sucked into a conversation where it's just one type of training, which I see a lot. So anyways, if you want to learn more, I have a program called Catalyst 90. It's super high level. It's awesome. It's remote. And I implement a lot of the stuff that we talked about. Go to www.tommybakerfitness.com. My new website's coming out soon. Right now, if you go there, it'll take you to my ebook, and we can get in touch that way. Have a great day. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to sign off now. Take care, guys.